Time zone appropriate greeting to you and welcome back to the channel. Climbing out of his Night Crusader, firmly holding his airbrush, oil paints, I have the pleasure of interviewing today a Twitch streamer with such an amazing hobby community, and the man, the myth, the legend, the Mohawk, Jay from Mohawk Miniatures. Welcome, mate.
That's the best intro I've ever had. The man, the myth, the legend, the Mohawk. That will do. That will do. How you doing, man?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you. A 3-day weekend now, which is amazing considering I normally work weekends.
Yeah. Well, you can always stream for another solid 24 hours.
Yeah, I've got custards to pay. We did that recently. I need a break from that.
So, welcome to the Community Spotlight. This is going to start the normal format of A and B, 1 and 2. The A questions are the ones I've asked everyone else. And then the B questions will be ones that are tailored towards yourself.
Cool.
So,
cool. I'm down.
I ring the bell, we'll jump in the ring, and we'll go for it.
Let's do it, man.
Ding ding. How did you get into the tabletop wargaming hobby?
I was a child. It was a very, very long time ago now. I think like most kids that grew up either by themselves or with very small families or whatever, you kind of have to live inside your own imagination a little bit. And I remember walking past a shop called Games Workshop when I was about 8 years old, and I had no idea what it was, and I assumed that it would sell things like computer games. And this was back when computer games came on a tape cassette, so this is how long ago this was. So I asked my mum if we could go in, and I vividly remember seeing Warhammer 40k being played, and they had a table full of little polystyrene containers. Those of you that have been in the hobby long enough to remember metal minis will remember it used to get a cardboard box with a little polystyrene like foam tray, an entire table made out of those that have been broken down to ruined buildings and stuff. It looked amazing. There was Ultramarines versus Orcs on a table, and that absolutely just spellbound me. Probably about a year or so after that, I managed to get my parents to buy me the 40k Second Ed box game for Christmas, and that's where it all started, really.
What sort of hobbyist are you? A painter, collector, gamer, or a bit of a mix?
So, in terms of my own hobby, I would describe myself as a competitive gamer. Love going to tournaments. That's my favourite thing in the world. Absolutely love that. It's a massive social thing for me. But I like to do everything that I can possibly do to the best of my ability, regardless of what it is. I mean, if they could make mowing the lawn competitive, I'd find a way, So I like to paint. I've always enjoyed the creative side of it, but my favourite thing in the hobby is going to an event, seeing how good you are. That does it for me.
What game systems do you play? Are you simply a one-person system, or have you started to spread out?
No, I play 40k pretty much predominantly. There's very little else I play past that. Mostly because if you are going to play at a competitive level, you kind of got to know the ins and outs of the game as well as you can. And I know that if I played AOS, which obviously Games Workshop, other flagship game, then I'd end up getting the two confused. There'd be moments where I'd forget one rule and stuff like that. But I do play Blood Bowl. I absolutely love Blood Bowl. That is one of the best games that Workshop ever made. I've played a little bit of Shadespire, which I kind of like. It's just hard to find people around me that want to play Shadespire. For my local community, it's predominantly 40k based.
What advice would you give someone just starting out of the hobby, or maybe your younger self now you've been in for a while?
Damn. So for anyone that's just starting into the hobby, you will go years before you feel that you've learned anything. And I don't want to discourage anyone at all. I mean that in a good way. There's always something to learn. There's always something to hold your interest. Don't be daunted by everything. One of the things that I hear quite a lot from people when I suggest that they try a new technique is they'll turn around and say, yeah, but I really want to master insert technique here. Like, I really want to master layered highlights before I start doing so-and-so. You could spend your entire life in the pursuit of that one thing and never feel like you've achieved it. So for anyone that's just starting out, there's all this wealth of information out there. Obviously, we've got the internet, which is an amazing hobby resource, whether it's things like my own Twitch channel, people's YouTube channels, Instagram, Facebook, all these amazing communities that are out there. Just sort of be like a sponge, suck up as much information as you possibly can from people, and take what they're doing and create your own style from it. Let all of these bits of information mold you into the best painter, the best gamer, the best hobbyist, whatever it is that you could be yourself.
That's solid advice. What's the best part about the hobby for you?
Other than the competitive scene, obviously I love painting, and really I suppose if you break it down and sort of expand the question even further, the best part of the hobby for me is the community that flows around it. Everyone is super supportive, even at events. You will get people that are, let's say, perhaps less fun to play against. But as the overwhelming majority, everyone that plays toy soldier games, you've got this amazing connection. Everyone has this one shared interest, and the community that grows out of and around that is absolutely the best thing. That's the thing that I missed the most in the times where I've left the hobby for whatever reason.
On the flip side, what's the worst part about the hobby for you?
I absolutely hate, with a fiery passion, assembling miniatures. Which is, I know for a lot of people they're like, but I love that bit. I have a fanatical hatred for mold lines, and they must be eradicated at all cost. So when you're assembling something, and the current kits from Games Workshop are far above and beyond what they used to be, the quality is extraordinarily good, and they've managed to position things on sprues so you won't get mold lines in hard to remove places, like straight down the middle of a Space Marine's knee pad, for instance. But assembling minis, especially for a commission where it has to be perfect, I won't let anything go out of the studio unless it is 100% tip top, exactly what I want. Finding every one of those mold lines, that's my worst thing about the hobby, is that.
And the second thing is going to be maybe brown rims on bases?
Definitely. Don't get me started on this rant, Matt. I will go on a tirade about brown base rims. Base rims should be black, and there is absolutely no other alternative. That's it.
Okay. What keeps you in the hobby?
So I'll talk to you about a time I came back to the hobby, because that's probably going to be the best answer to that question.
Okay.
Everyone's had a break for whatever reason. I was out of the hobby for about 5 years or so when I was 16, because I discovered girls, and then later on drinking and the other fun social things that you generally do when you're that age. And then later on, when I was in my mid-20s, I came out of the hobby. And the thing that brought me back was I used to be a chef, and I had this creative thing that I would do every day. You'd create this masterpiece on a plate, send it out, customers would enjoy it, you get that satisfaction of a job well done. And when I got married, I asked my, unfortunately now ex-wife, to marry me, and I said, look, I'm going to leave the kitchen so I can spend more time with you. And I didn't realise that by leaving the kitchen and not having that creative outlet, that I'd be missing something internally. And what brought me back to the hobby, and what really now keeps me in the hobby, is knowing that I have to have that creative thing in my life. I have to be able to produce something and express. Art is always expression, but express my art in some way, shape or form, whatever it is. And having the ability to take what is essentially a plastic toy soldier and try and turn it into something wonderful that's evocative to the imagination. That's the thing for me. That's what keeps me going.
Has anyone inspired your hobby, style, or life?
There have been definitely artists that I've looked at their work and gone, this is my kind of style. Not all of them have been mini painters, actually. I like to describe my preferred style as almost a comic book like. So we're talking super high contrasts on things, real dark and real bright, very vivid, bright colours. And a lot of that came from when I was a kid reading comic books growing up. I fell in love with the art style of the Marvel colorers and inkers. Painting wise, as far as a Warhammer hobby goes, people like Mike McVeigh, the attention to detail that he used to sort of put into his minis is immense. I absolutely love that. Kenny Boucher over on Next Level Painting. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be streaming on Twitch. He's the person that let me find Twitch, and he and I have got a very similar art style, and I've learned a lot from him.
Insert Yo Dog.
Yo Dog. Gotta love a Yo Dog.
Oh yeah. What personal projects are you working on at the moment?
So I've just started a Grey Knight army. I was going to do a Tau army. I told everyone that I was going to take a break from commissions this year for a couple of months and build a Tau army. But with the current pandemic that we're in, obviously that became very tricky to source models and so on and so forth. So I picked up a Grey Knight army because they're very in meta at the moment. It's another elite army. I prefer an elite playstyle where you have to make the right decision every time. It's a lot less forgiving, but your potential risk reward is greater. And for whatever reason, I was never going to paint the armor silver. I've gone for a sort of non-metallic black to blue, which I really like the look of. But I rather stupidly decided that what I really wanted to do with the army was paint it all in non-metallic metal. So we spent about 7 hours so far painting little bits of gold on one librarian model. It's going to be a bit of a slog. So that's my own personal hobby. Commission-wise, we've got some custodes. I'm hoping to finish up this weekend. Some Dark Angels. I've got some more aeronautica planes like the ones that I did for you not too long ago. Got some more of those coming soon. So loads, mate. Loads going on.
That's good. Do you plan out projects, armies, or did you get sucked in with collecting everything for an army?
Oh, so right back at the start of this, I said I am a competitive gamer at heart. If it's not worth putting on a table at a tournament, I'm probably not going to put it into my own army. However, there are some things like rule of cool. I just want this thing. I'm going to have this thing. But I don't have very much time to devote to my own hobby because of work, commissions, etc., streaming. I kind of had to plan out what I'm going to do for my own work, and I do try and go absolutely ham on it as well. So for everything I do, my nights, which I've been very fortunate, they've won me both events and painting awards. All of the bases have got scenery on the bases. It's all a big scenic experience. My Grey Knights, we've got custom bases going on them. We try and find lots of things to make what it is that I've chosen as special as possible, rather than just grabbing hold of everything.
If your budget was unlimited, but you could only buy one army, what would it be?
Oh, damn. Unlimited budget.
Yep, but you could only buy one army from then on.
Oh, I genuinely don't know. I'm going to say Eldar and be that really unpopular guy. So, the minis are amazing. They've got some beautiful, beautiful sculpts. There's plenty of stuff there to keep you interested. Can I say Eldari?
Yes.
Like, so mixed?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
then
okay.
you've got Eldar, Dark Eldar. Because the Dark Eldar stuff I love to bits. There's no way I'm ever painting a Harlequin army. I don't care. That's just not on the cards for me. but yeah, probably something along those lines, because you can really spend time and make those things incredible. The tanks and like the Dark Eldar planes and raiders and stuff, they've got these beautiful flat areas that, with a bit of imagination, you can do a lot with. You don't have to just paint it one color and then put a few lines on of edge highlight or a little sort of tribal design or something. You can go really, really hard into those and create something that's a truly wonderful expression of art.
Man, you just turn around and dry brush it. It's far easier.
No dry brush, no oil, no brown base rim. These are the 3 tenets of Mohawk Miniatures. That's it.
What do you hope to improve about your hobby in the future?
Wow. So, if we looked at like my hobby goals for last year, and then my hobby goals for this year, they've changed a little bit. Last year, I started getting into the tournament scene. I wanted to go and do something a bit more social. So my goal was go to one event a month, get into the top 3 once, and get nominated for best painting. That was it. Pretty simple goals, nothing crazy. Ended up going to 17, 18 events. I came in with a prize for something, whether it's painting or gameplay, at almost every single one of those events. This year, my goal has become a little harder to achieve. I want to make it into the top 100 ITC players worldwide. Last year, I was somewhere in the top 150 to 200 bandwidth. I think it was 160-ish. So I want to make it to the top 100 players worldwide. I want to win another major, but with the whole COVID thing, that's potentially not on the cards this year. So those are my goals now. It's a lot more about competitive play. I obviously still want to be winning Best Painted awards if and when I can. That's why we're putting the work in on this new Grainer army. But yeah, those are the ones.
Okay, that's spot on. Thank you very much for answering section 1. We'll take a little break.
No worries, dude.
We'll take a little break now, have a cup of coffee, and come back with part B. Jay recently applied to the SM Battle Report's No Retreat 9 event, and part of this event application process, as you've heard in the interview with Steve Pardo before, is you send in photographs of your army. But Jay, being Jay, went one step better and produced a video of his army. So in a world exclusive, this is Jay's application video for his Knights army.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law.
And welcome back from that epic video of Jay's Knight army. So Jay, how did you get into commission painting?
It was something that I kind of always done a little bit. I remember having like a side hustle at school when I'd paint other people's minis for them for, well, basically like tuck shop stuff back then. And then when I worked at Games Workshop, I was there from sort of 2005 to 2006. There'd be people who would come into the store. And like, oh, how do you paint these? And you'd sort of give them a rundown. Oh, it seems too complicated. Like, don't you not sell them pre-painted? I'm like, well, actually, you know. And officially, Games Workshop you weren't allowed to do that. That was definitely a no. But you know what they don't know about doesn't hurt them, all that sort of stuff. So you just have to have the conversations outside the store. So you just get somebody else to cover the till, and you'd wander outside and have a chat. And I ended up doing quite a lot of like single mini commissions for people. It was like their warlord or presents for their other half, usually husband rather than anything else. And then this time around, when I got back into the hobby, a mate of mine wanted to go to No Retreat. So did I. And I took on his Grainer army, painted the entire army for him, 2,000 points, and like custom bases, lock, stock, a lot. I spent so much time on his army that I didn't get a chance to finish my army to stand I wanted to, and he went to No Retreat and I stayed at home. Yeah, well, it's one of those, isn't it? But it's just I need to be busy all the time. used to wrestle for a living. For those that don't know, I had an injury back in 2003 that's essentially meant I have a headache constantly. And the way I deal with that is, rather than like medicines and tablets and things, is I just need to be busy. And if I can be busy and push everything else to the side and focus in on something like painting a mini, then I can deal with that in a really easy way. I've been dealing with that way now for, it'll be 17 years this September. So I like to be busy, and so it seemed then a natural progression. I had friends asking me, can you paint this? Can you paint this? And then that gradually became enough of a portfolio for people in other parts of the UK, and now, in fact, the world. I've got a commission from Texas, I've got a commission from New York to be working on. And it just became sort of a natural progression to making it a business rather than just a side hustle.
So what's the process of setting up a commission with yourself? Like, for example, if someone's got a box of minis and say, hey, I've seen your work, Jay, can you paint these? What's the process of starting? So
I like to be really upfront with my clients. I think honesty is, in any kind of business, the absolute best thing you could do. Especially when it is something that means a lot to people. If somebody wants you to paint something for them, it's because they've either got a really big connection to what it is that you're painting on a personal level, or it has some other evocative meaning for them. They really want this to look good. And so we'll talk about the mini, we'll talk about the commission. I recently had a conversation with this guy in New York about a Tau army, and we basically got a Facebook call going, and we talked about his style, and we talked about my style of painting. We went through a little bit of a back and forth over what he wanted with the army, and I was honest and realistic about what I could do and what sort of lengths of time and therefore what costs it would incur. So you start with that, you get a dialogue going, you make sure that both you and your client are on the same page. I have a contract which I send off to my client, they sign and send back, and I won't go too much into that, but that's basically it.
Would you ever turn down a commission if you didn't like the models or scheme, or would you just try and work with the clients a bit more?
So, both, actually. Recently, I've been very fortunate where people have been asking me to paint things, and I've got more work coming in, more interest coming in, that I can start to pick and choose which commissions I want. This isn't my full-time job. I have a full-time office job that keeps me going between 40 and 60 hours a week doing that. Then we do the painting on top. So I've been able to turn down commissions I didn't want to paint. Whereas prior to that, I'd either have to tell a customer, well, look, I think this would just work better if we did it this way, and can you trust me? I'm just going to do a model, and you can see what you think. The Custodes army I'm working on at the moment, that was one of those moments. The bases we've got for them are resin bases. They're made by an amazing studio. I can't remember the name of it, which is really annoying now, on eBay. But there's like a Greek sort of theme to the bases. They've got like heads of fallen statues. And the army is predominantly purple and gold. And I said, look, it'd be really, really, really good if we painted these statue heads in kind of a turquoise teal look. My client wasn't sold on that. So I said, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a base. I'm going to put the mini on the base just loosely, and you can see what you think. And if you like it, great, we're going to run with it. If you don't, cool, we'll do your idea. But trust me, I think this is going to work. And my client loved it. And the next thing I know, everything has to be on these bases now. Whatever it is that he does, they've got to be on these bases. I also used to, if I didn't want to do a commission, I once got asked to do 20 assault marines that were Lamenter's colour scheme. So they're bright yellow, which is fine. I love painting yellow. But you've got checker pad shoulders, and then you've got a heart also free-handed on one of the shoulders. And I thought, I really don't want to do this. I really, really don't want to do this. But I haven't got another commission lined up, so I'm going to have to put in a bid for it. And I gave the guy some massively overinflated number, thinking at least if he says yes, it's made it worth the PTSD I'm going to get from doing all those checker pads again. So a little bit of both to answer your question.
You've recently been doing really well in the UK tournament scene, finishing number 1 for Imperial Knights last year overall in the ITC. How do you feel about the recent releases being Psychic Awakening? How does it affect the meta?
We went through a really stagnant point in the meta when realistically the Iron Hand supplement came out. The Marine book came out and was like, wow, this is good, this is really strong, Space Marines feel like Space Marines now. And then the Iron Hands book came out and everyone went, what? There's more on top of this. Cool. And we were stuck in that rut for about 6 months. The Eldar Psychic Awakening book came out and helped a little bit. But again, there was more Marine releases that came out past that point. The Chaos book came out, Faith and Fury. So suddenly you had Possessed Bombs coming in, which were ruining a lot of Marine armies. Then you had Grey Knights coming in, which were ruining Possessed Bombs and able to go toe-to-toe with other Marine armies. And I think that the Psychic Awakening books have done an amazing job of taking what was a very stagnant meta that I know people that are solid competitive players that really love that aspect of the game that just stopped going to tournaments because they didn't want to play Marines. They didn't want to do nothing but play 6 Iron Hands players or 6 Imperial Fist players for a weekend. And I think that the current release for Psychic Awakening has done wonders for the game competitively.
You have since gone over to stream on Twitch. How did you decide to get started doing this?
So I've always liked helping people out. One of the things that I used to do in my day job, which was in a slightly different division of the company, was training for a lot of new staff and starters. And it was really, really good because you got to see people progress from where they started to, ideally, a very, very competent member of staff. And when I switched divisions to work within the tech part of what we do, I wasn't getting that. And I thought about trying to do stuff through Instagram. I've actually got a video on Instagram, if you go way, 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 way back, which describes how I do my rust technique. It's very quick, it's very easy, it gives you a very realistic looking rust that still has the kind of stylistic elements, that comic book-ish style of my painting. And I really wanted to do more. I'm not very good at video editing at all. And I didn't really have the time to dedicate to putting something together for YouTube. But I still wanted to do something, and in a bit of an unfortunate turn of events, my grandfather passed and left me an inheritance. And I've lived with some hard times in my life every now and again, where you are living hand to mouth, and so my immediate family have all known about that, and sometimes they knew that the check they sent me for birthday or Christmas was to pay the electric bill or the car tax, or something along those sorts of lines. And it was written into the will as a stipulation that the money that came over to me, at least a portion of it, must be used for something solely for my own enjoyment. And I thought about the things that I wanted to do with the hobby, thought about the places I wanted to go with the hobby, and there was enough there for me to be able to buy a complete setup. So I bought all the parts for a PC, built a PC, really solid streaming rig, cameras, microphones, stands, etc. And that was the sort of galvanizing moment right there. Like, this is the thing that's now enabling me to go and do this thing that I want to do. Obviously it came out of a bad moment in my life, but we've made something good of it.
You recently celebrated your stream's first birthday in an epic 2-day streamathon.
That was good.
Oh yeah, where you painted a Chaos Knight over with a basic 24 hours of fun and shenanigans online. How much planning and scheduling goes into something like that? For example, by 10 a.m. I must be at this point, painting wise. By 2 o'clock I must be there.
So there's an office buzzwords like smart targets, right? I think anyone that's ever worked in an office has probably heard that from a manager at some point. And you kind of need to set yourself these goals, and it's important for two reasons. One of which is when you hit your target, you're like, yes, nailed that, and you get that little rush of endorphins. You get your little hobby dopamines, which is great. But on a project that size, over that small of a time frame, you can't be too strict with your timings. So my day one for me, I had to be at the stage where the oils were put down. So for those of you who don't know what that means, I use oil paints a lot in my hobby to either recess shade or to give weathering, to help with transitions. There's loads of resources online you can find about how to use oil washes. I really suggest that anyone that doesn't know what they are goes and has a look, because that's a massive hobby game changer for me. But I knew that day one, I had to be at the point where my oils were down on the model. I was ready to take them back off day two. That was literally as far as my planning went. I think I wanted to get all of the... I had a goal of getting all the metallics done within 2 hours, because that was a large part of the skeleton of the knight. All of the trim around the panels, we airbrushed all of that before then airbrushing in on top of a little bit of a kind of a border that we put down. All our armor panel colors, we really broke it down into a very quick way of getting a knight painted to a high standard. And we ended up streaming for 25 and a half hours all told. I think it was 25 hours of painting and half an hour's worth of doing the giveaways at the end of the second day stream. And the only other goal I had was finish the night by midnight on day two. And I was literally just putting down the black base rim when we hit midnight. So I was maybe 10 seconds past my target. But we made it. We made it.
Well, I didn't make it. I sort of fell asleep about 11:15 and missed all the giveaways.
You weren't the only one, dude. It was a long weekend. I got a massive buzz out of it, though. It's an epic thing. I love giving back to the community that supported me. Like you said, it was my first stream anniversary. I couldn't not do something for the guys that supported me, and it was an epic event. We'll have to do it again next year, for sure.
Do you ever feel that streaming could have a negative effect on your enjoyment in the hobby, having to stream 3 nights a week?
No. The only thing it has a negative effect on is commissions take longer, because stream time and real time is a little bit like dog years, right? Whatever you do on stream takes longer to do than it would be if you weren't doing it on stream. And the kind of ratio I go to is it's about 2 hours of stream time for an hour's worth of work, because you're interacting with people, which I love. I love the social aspect of Twitch. That's absolutely one of the best things. I spoke earlier on about the community of the hobby being the thing that really keeps me here. Well, now I can have that Twitch community from the comfort of my studio 3 nights a week. That's amazing. I love that. But it does slow things down. You're either explaining what you're doing and showcasing things in a way that somebody else can follow, which again is something that I love doing, or you're just having a chat, having a laugh, that kind of thing. My hobby enjoyment has never been more than it is right now, and streaming is a big part of that. Like I said, commissions take longer. That's just a fact, because those 3 nights a week where I would normally start painting at, say, 7 and finish at midnight, I'm now getting less time spent on the minis than I was, but that's fine. We just build that into the commission and the prospectus or timeline for it, so clients are well aware.
Yeah, I've seen as well. A lot of your clients are the guys in the stream. Like personally, myself, I could sit back and actually watch you paint the Orc planes that we commissioned for yourself, and then the aeronautical stuff you paint on stream. So after a couple,
I think it's a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a unique selling point because there are other people that do it, I know, but it means that I'm literally sat here painting your toy soldiers for you. If I've got a question, you're right there to answer it. But you can see what's going on at the same time. It's not just a quick WhatsApp message with a photo. It's a lot more in depth than that. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I find it. Yeah, it's with that point as well. I find it very reassuring that I've had a few bad experiences with commissioned painters, and it's just.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
It's one of these things. It's just, but you know, being able to see your models being painted, you're like, oh wow, he is at that stage which he's telling me of. So it was very much appreciated, you know.
Good. I'm glad, dude. And I really enjoyed painting those planes for you. The flames around the cockpit areas on the big ones, especially, I had great fun doing those.
You've spoken before about YouTube content. Big plans in the making for this?
Yeah. So this is kind of a goal that I should have spoken about earlier on. Actually, when you asked, this is like one of my goals for the year. Is I would like to reduce my office working hours by 1 day a week. That's the plan. So to do that, essentially we need Twitch to get to a point where it is providing enough of an income to make up for that, and then also sort of pad out my sort of rent check, essentially. What I'd like to do, like I said, cut the office down to 4 days a week. Ideally have the Friday off. And then rather than spending that Friday just chilling out and having a DOS, which, you know, I appreciate there'd be a lot of people that would definitely be hoping that that's the thing. Because I have to stay busy, I want to turn that Friday into a day where I produce a video. So we do a painting guide, we do a basing guide, a scenery guide, whatever it is that I feel like we're going to do that week. That's been planned out, so we've got everything ready to go, so that on that day I can do the recording, I can do the voiceovers, the editing, I can get that uploaded to YouTube. That's the goal for me and my business, essentially, is to get to that stage where we can do that. I'd love to get a load of stuff up on YouTube, 1 video a week, and then work from that into maybe like a whole Patreon thing and stuff like that. I'm not really keen about hiding stuff behind paywalls because it hampers my my desire to help people grow within their own hobby. But having something that I can put out that people always got access to, because Twitch VODs, while they're brilliant, mine are frequently muted because we play a lot of cool music, which is a copyright infringement, and so therefore it can't be on the recording. I get that. That's cool. I'm not too fussed about it. But if you need to hear how I'm doing something, if you need the explanation, you won't always get that. And that VOD only lasts for 14 days because I'm not a partner. If we can get something out that's on YouTube, so when somebody asks me a question in stream, like, how did you do this? I can say, actually, we've got a video for that. Get a Twitch command link to exactly that video. They can immediately move over there if they need to, or they can get a link and save it as a book. And then they can take the way that I've done something in my own style as a basis of helping them create their own style. And that's really what I try and push on people as well, is it's totally fine to paint exactly like the box art. It's totally fine to go and find your favorite mini painter, whether it's someone like myself, someone like Angel Heraldez, Sergio. It could be anyone. It could just be a guy from your local who's got a style that you love. It's okay to copy that, but you'll get the most out of your hobby enjoyment if you take all of these inspirations and amalgamate them into one thing that's then you. You could be the first one of you, not the next one of somebody else. And I think having that YouTube tutorial where we can link people to show things that I've done in the way that I've done it will help them develop their own style for their own painting further down the line.
That's really solid. So last and final question. This one's a bit of a out of left field because it's not on the sheet that I gave you before the interview.
You're going to ask me what kind of biscuit I'd like to be or something.
I know. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
How is that even a question? That's not a question. Questions are meant to have multiple answers. Pineapple definitely belongs on pizzas, and anyone says that it doesn't is intolerant of pineapple. How dare you?
That's spot on, mate. Thank you very much for taking part in this community spotlight.
Really enjoyed it, Matt. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've known each other now for a little over a year, and you're a great guy. I hope everything goes well for you, for your channel, and for you in the future as well.
Yeah, thanks so much. So a massive thanks to Jay for taking part in this. All his links are down below for his Twitch, his Instagram, and his Facebook. And if you catch his Twitch stream on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday night, as of the time of recording, I'll probably see you there. In the end screen next is a link to the playlist for the rest of the interviews in this series. Take care and thanks a lot.